In the heart of the Pacific, an ominous silence descends. What could possibly send tremors of dread through militaries worldwide? Massive ships equipped with an arsenal of missiles loom ominously on the horizon. Dozens of attack helicopters slice through the air like hawks. Beneath the surface, nuclear submarines glide stealthily, while P-8 Poseidon hunters scour the ocean depths. Thousands of U.S. Marines stand poised for action, and the Pentagon is on high alert. It's a storm brewing in the Caribbean, and it's all initiated by a bold decision from the U.S. President. Donald Trump has given the command. A formidable naval group is now en route to Venezuela, a nation grappling with the chaos born from cartel dominance and money laundering scandals. But this isn't merely a show of muscle, it's a calculated move sparked by the actions of Venezuela against U.S. interests. The alliance between Nicolas Maduro and powers like Iran, Russia, and China has fueled this massive operation. What might happen when national interests collide? With recent developments suggesting the U.S. seeks to unseat Maduro, the stage is set. The U.S. Navy's high-intensity deployment consists of 7 warships and about 4,500 personnel, indicating the seriousness of the mission. At the heart of this task force are specialized amphibious vessels, the USS Ioma, USS San Antonio, and USS Fort Lauderdale. They are not just ships, they are strategic assets poised for rapid deployment and beach assaults, each supported by 3 Arleigh Burke-class guided missile destroyers and the protective Aegis air defense system. Did Caracas truly anticipate such a robust military presence? Media reports hint that the Los Angeles-class USS Newport News is lurking below the surface, adding another layer of deterrence. Over 2,200 Marines are already deployed, supported by an array of naval aircraft, setting the stage for an operation that transcends mere display. The intent is clear, to strengthen maritime control and secure communication lines, while exerting formidable pressure across the Caribbean. Now, panic is rippling, not just in Venezuela, but across the globe. The implications of this naval operation send shockwaves to Russia, China, and Iran. Maduro's own alliances have backfired. As the threat of the U.S. military looms, could it drive him to desperate measures? The axis of drug trafficking, military collaboration, and geopolitical tension has converged to form a dangerous crucible under Maduro's leadership. With tensions high and the stakes rising, how will Venezuela respond? For Maduro, the storm has arrived at his doorstep. He is scrambling to rally his defense. Caracas is vocal, denouncing the U.S. actions as a threat to sovereignty, while mustering military exercises and calls to dissuade external interference. Diplomatic channels are activated as the Venezuelan government seeks support from allies, striving to secure its position against a backdrop of escalating military pressure. The alliances Maduro has forged, particularly with Iran, provide essential support through energy and defense logistics. How deep does this partnership run? Since the fuel pipeline initiative in 2020, cooperation has intensified. With Iranian technicians aiding in refinery repairs and arms supplies flowing through various channels. The stakes are high, but the U.S. reads these connections as a strategic breach. With whispers of shadow economies emerging, the U.S. is tightening the noose, sending a clear message about the intersection of criminal networks and state-sponsored activities. Yet as Maduro prepares to confront these threats, what does it mean for the future of Venezuela? Could the actions of the U.S. reshape the balance of power in the Caribbean? The question remains, what strategies will Maduro deploy in response? Caracas has already mobilized a significant military presence to bolster its borders and coastal defenses. With over 4.5 million militia members ready, is Maduro prepared to turn Venezuela into a fortress against perceived invaders? The sounds of war drums resonate through the air, while strategic maneuvers like coastal patrols and heightened surveillance are visibly underway. With every passing moment, the tension escalates. Will the winds of warfare sweep across Venezuela? As we explore further into the conflict, more surprises await. This is just the beginning of a broader narrative, unfolding with each decision made on both sides. Each moment brings new revelations, making you wonder, who will emerge victorious in this high-stakes game? The world watches, holding its breath for what comes next. In a tense atmosphere where every moment counts, the U.S. Navy is not merely flexing its muscles. A formidable fleet, including approximately 2,200 Marines, is positioned strategically to secure vital sea lanes and maintain control over the Caribbean region. This deployment is more than a show of strength, it's a calculated move signaling intent. President Trump appears to be cornering Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro in a high-stakes game, and the ripples of panic are felt not just in Caracas but also in Moscow, Beijing, and Tehran. The clock is ticking. What will happen next? Maduro has played a dangerous game by forging closer ties with Iran for drones and electronic warfare, and with Russia for military training and intelligence. The U.S. interprets these alliances as the formation of a new axis, intertwining cartel routes and state-sponsored initiatives. The stakes are escalating, and the hunt has officially begun. The U.S. Navy is building a maritime security architecture piece by piece. The USS Uema, an amphibious assault ship, stands ready for swift deployments. Accompanying it are the San Antonio class and Fort Lauderdale, providing essential command and control capabilities. This naval armada, bolstered by Burke-class destroyers equipped with advanced missile systems, is designed to monitor and control the vital waterways. Together, they create an unyielding presence on the high seas, ensuring that any threats from transnational crime and cartels in Venezuela are countered effectively. As the U.S. positions itself within this framework, the question looms: how will Maduro respond? Will he retreat in the face of overwhelming military pressure? Or will he double down, igniting an even fiercer conflict? The U.S. is prepared to combat not just the cartels but the entire illicit network that has taken root in the region. The potential for confrontation is high, and both sides are bracing for what could become a defining moment in geopolitical history. Tensions rise as the battle lines are drawn. The world watches, who will emerge victorious? Previously, we saw how the U.S. Navy's deployment near Venezuela is designed for relentless patrol and control over critical sea routes. This mission is framed as a fight against transnational crime and cartel influence. Now, the operation reveals a far more complex web, where illicit networks blend with state-backed activities. Imagine a shadowy maze where cartel smuggling lanes merge seamlessly with state-supported supply chains. Iranian-made drone components, Russian military advisors, and local security forces form an unholy alliance. JATF South, pronounced JITFF South, is hot on the trail, not just tracking cocaine shipments but also drone parts and dual-use electronics that could fuel covert operations. The U.S. is tightening the noose, targeting both criminal enterprises and the state mechanisms that enable them. Official statements leave no doubt: stopping drug trafficking, money laundering, and sanctions evasion along Caribbean routes tops the agenda. For years, U.S. authorities have alleged that parts of Venezuela's security apparatus overlap with a notorious network dubbed the Cartel de los Soles. Though controversial, this link is embedded in policy documents. This fusion of maritime patrols and financial surveillance is no accident. It's a calculated package backed by naval might, intelligence sharing, and judicial cooperation. Media and think tanks in Washington emphasize the political weight of this move. It's not just about dismantling cartels but applying pressure on Maduro's regime. The administration paints Maduro's government as a mafia-like structure enabling the drug trade, a narrative that justifies alliances with regional partners. But how is Venezuela reacting to this escalating tension? Will Maduro crumble under the pressure, or will he fight back? Caracas responded swiftly, denouncing the deployment as a blatant violation of sovereignty and a militarized threat. Maduro escalated the issue to the United Nations, lodging formal complaints with Secretary-General Antonio Guterres. Meanwhile, state-controlled media broadcast images of coastal defense drills and popular militia mobilizations, sending a message of defiance. The stakes are rising. The Caribbean waters, once a stage for smuggling and political games, are now the front lines of a high-stakes battle. What will come next? Will this naval chess game force Maduro's hand, or will it spiral into something far more dangerous? The tension is palpable, the countdown begun. What lies beneath the surface may change everything. As tensions escalate in the Caribbean, the world watches with bated breath. The United States has deployed a massive naval force to Venezuela, and the question looms: how will the embattled nation respond? Caracas swiftly reacted, casting this move as an infringement on its sovereignty. President Nicolas Maduro wasted no time in escalating the situation, filing complaints with the United Nations against what he deemed an aggressive threat. The air crackles with uncertainty as military exercises intensify along the coast, showcasing the citizens' militia. But what lies beneath this diplomatic posturing? Venezuela's alliance with Iran has deep roots, intertwined through energy and military collaboration. Since the fuel bridge agreement in 2020, Iranian technicians have been instrumental in keeping Venezuelan refineries operational. Crude oil swaps and spare parts have flowed like lifeblood, maintaining Caracas's fragile economy. The shadows of the UAV network loom large, where dual-use technologies, sensors and electronic warfare tools, are disguised as civilian imports. Washington sees these activities not merely as illicit trade but as a strategic conduit for Iran's influence in the region. The stakes are high. The potential normalization of sanctions evasion, coupled with the spread of Iranian UAV capabilities among regional players, could unleash chaos. The U.S. perceives this convergence as a direct threat, with cartel routes and the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps intertwining in a dangerous dance. Meanwhile, Russia's historical ties with Venezuela run deep. The S-300VM air defense systems and Su-30 Mk-2 fighter jets are not just military assets, they symbolize Moscow's unwavering support. This partnership has never truly dwindled, maintaining a steady stream of logistical and training assistance. As the Caribbean becomes a chessboard for global powers, the United States watches closely. With visible military presence and intelligence sharing, the risks intensify. The implications of Russian military assets in the region are alarming for U.S. strategists. The ongoing military exercises and the potential for increased scrutiny at sea create a precarious balance, where every move could ignite a larger conflict. But what if this military might is more than just posturing? What if Maduro's next steps could shift the balance of power? The air is thick with tension, and the world is on edge, anticipating the next chapter in this unfolding drama. In the tense geopolitical landscape, a powerful storm brews in the Caribbean. The U.S. Navy is mobilizing like never before, sending a formidable fleet towards Venezuela, where chaos reigns. As President Trump orders naval forces into action, the world watches. Will this be the moment that shifts the balance of power, or merely a display of force? The United States has long been wary of Venezuela's alliances with Russia, Iran, and China. The presence of Russian military assets creates a strategic window into the Caribbean, complicating the U.S. stance on sanctions. Every day, this window grows wider, and with it, the risks increase. The American military planners identify two key areas of concern: the influence of Russian technology and the tightening grip of Chinese financial networks. Venezuela, under Nicolas Maduro, is not just a pawn. It has become a lifeline for survival through strategic partnerships. Russian military support, including air defense systems and advanced fighter jets, fortifies Maduro's regime. Meanwhile, China's financial backing through oil credits and infrastructure projects creates an intricate web of dependency. This connection poses a dual threat, tightening Venezuela's bonds with Beijing while simultaneously obscuring sanctions enforcement. As dark flag tankers and clandestine shipping routes proliferate, the U.S. sees a shadow economy emerging, one that threatens to undermine their control in the region. They understand that the combination of Chinese resources and Russian military might is constructing a formidable barrier against U.S. influence. In response, Maduro rallies his forces and declares that the U.S. will not invade. His government mobilizes local militias, preparing nearly 4.5 million citizens for defense. As troops are deployed to the Colombian border, the air is thick with the scent of tension and uncertainty. The call for national unity echoes through the streets, a message intended to deter external threats. But how long can this facade of strength last? As the U.S. Navy looms closer, the pressure mounts. Will Maduro's bravado hold firm, or will the looming specter of American might shake the very foundations of his regime? The Caribbean is now a chessboard, and every move could spell the difference between survival and collapse. The stakes have never been higher. In a world brimming with tension, the stage is set for a confrontation that could reshape the Caribbean landscape. The U.S. has unleashed a powerful naval force off the coast of Venezuela, and the air is thick with uncertainty. President Donald Trump has taken decisive action, sending a formidable fleet of warships, helicopters, and thousands of Marines into a region already rife with chaos. But what does this mean for Venezuela? Amidst the turmoil, Venezuela's response has been swift and assertive. The government has rallied its local militias and announced plans to activate an astonishing 4.5 million militia members. They've mobilized 15,000 troops to the Colombian border, preparing for a potential showdown. The message is clear: Venezuela will not back down. The air defense network is on high alert, and recent training flights have heightened tensions. Coastal security patrols are underway, and radar surveillance systems are buzzing with activity. The government has tightened security around vital ports and infrastructures, signaling to its citizens that they are ready to defend their sovereignty. As the scent of salt and tension fills the air, the reality remains that the U.S. maintains naval superiority. This imbalance compels Caracas to create friction at sea, a strategy to disrupt the overwhelming force arrayed against them. In the wake of the U.S. naval deployment, the region has become a hotbed of political and economic upheaval. Insurance costs for maritime routes are soaring, and countries across the Caribbean are re-evaluating their navigation protocols. Cautious statements from regional capitals underscore the desire for stability, but the U.S. stands firm, emphasizing its commitment to operational freedom and anti-cartel cooperation. As the situation escalates, calls for dialogue and mediation echo through the halls of power. The looming question remains: how will this crisis evolve? The U.S. naval operation appears to be a flexible pressure tactic, a blend of maritime patrols and financial sanctions that could keep Venezuela on edge. With every passing moment, the stakes grow higher, and the world watches closely. Will Venezuela's bold moves be enough to deter U.S. aggression, or is a storm brewing on the horizon? Tensions are rising in the Pacific, as radar systems light up and communications fall silent. Massive warships brimming with missiles, fleets of attack helicopters, and stealthy nuclear submarines are preparing for a showdown. The U.S. military is on high alert, and President Donald Trump has made a decisive move, deploying a formidable naval group to Venezuela, a nation grappling with an internal crisis fueled by drug cartels and financial scandals. But what ignited this monumental decision? It wasn't merely a battle against cartels. Venezuela's defiance of U.S. policies and its alliances with Iran, Russia, and China have escalated tensions. Recent developments in the Caribbean suggested that the U.S. was intent on ousting President Maduro, leading to a high-stakes naval deployment off Venezuela's coast. 7 warships and 4,500 personnel have been dispatched, with an impressive lineup that includes the USS Ioma and USS San Antonio, ready to establish dominance. This isn't just a display of military might, it's a calculated strategy. The U.S. Navy's task force, bolstered by destroyers equipped with missile defense systems, aims to secure maritime routes and control the seas. With the presence of Los Angeles-class submarines, the U.S. is prepared for underwater warfare, sending a clear message of deterrence. But how is Venezuela responding to this show of force? President Maduro is not sitting idle. He denounces the U.S. move as a threat to sovereignty and swiftly rallies his military. Caracas emphasizes that it will not back down, mobilizing local militias and deploying troops along the Colombian border. Maduro claims that the U.S. cannot invade Venezuela, but can he really back up this bravado? Venezuela's alliances with countries like Iran, which provides drones and electronic warfare, and Russia, which offers military support, complicate the situation further. Will these partnerships prove strong enough to withstand U.S. pressure? As the situation escalates, the stakes grow higher, and the world watches. What unforeseen consequences could arise from this military chess game? The U.S. maintains that its naval presence is aimed at combating transnational crime and disrupting cartel networks in Venezuela. However, the delicate balance between pressure and escalation hangs in the air. Will this strategy lead to a breakthrough or ignite an even larger conflict? In the midst of this turmoil, Venezuela's ties with China remain a critical factor. Beijing's financial support through energy contracts has fortified Caracas, creating a complex web of alliances that the U.S. must navigate carefully. With both sides digging in, where will this confrontation lead? Each move on this geopolitical chessboard could reshape the future of the region. As tensions rise, every action could have critical implications. Will diplomacy prevail, or is the stage set for a dramatic confrontation? In the tumultuous waters of the Caribbean, a storm brews. Tension mounts as powerful warships, their hulls glistening under the sun, anchor near Venezuelan shores. But what drives this immense military display? Can threats alone reshape the destiny of a nation? The scene is set for a gripping showdown with global implications. As pressure rises, Caracas is caught in a dangerous dance. Regional powers like Iran and Russia offer encrypted support, their influence casting long shadows, yet their feet remain reluctant on the battlefield. China's unwavering financial embrace strengthens Venezuela's position, but it fails to balance the precarious scales of maritime security. The struggle for stability becomes a symphony of high rhetoric but low actionable risk. In this theater of power, has Caracas truly forged a robust defense against impending doom? The United States, meanwhile, gears up with visible resolve. Their naval deployment sends a clear message, a warning echoing through the salty air. With advanced vessels like the MQ-64 anti-submarine ship and the USS Lake Erie creating an impenetrable barrier, the Pentagon ensures that Venezuelan seas are neither safe nor secure for illicit operations. The very essence of energy and financial flows is under scrutiny, and the stakes are higher than ever. Are the waters merely a battleground for economies, or will they be the stage for wider conflicts? Inside Caracas, the atmosphere crackles with determination. Fueled by the spirit of resilience, Nicolas Maduro rallies the nation, promising unity against external threats. His voice reverberates through the canyons of the capital, igniting patriotism and defiance. As the sound of coastal drills and militia exercises fill the air, Caracas prepares to showcase its strength. But what will this mean for its relationships abroad? Can Maduro sustain the facade of control amid an awakening beast? Both sides are forced to strategize. Each calculated move speaks volumes. As Washington articulates its commitment to law enforcement and national security, it also carefully curates a narrative for domestic consumption. But will these military displays result in tangible change, or are they merely tactics to buy time? The balance of power is delicate, and every shift could bring a new twist in this unfolding drama. Venezuela stands at the edge of a critical juncture. The alliance with Beijing deepens, but what consequences will it pose for their autonomy? Can Caracas navigate this geopolitical web without losing its sovereignty? As threats loom from across the sea, the question remains, will they rise united or falter divided? The intensity mounts, and the fabric of alliances stretches under the weight of impending confrontation. The fate of the nation hangs in the balance. Will this naval show of strength serve as a deterrent, or spark a chain of events destined to reshape the region? Only time will tell as the waves crash against the shore, heralding the arrival of a pivotal moment in history. In a world where giants clash silently beneath the surface, the Pacific waters are brimming with tension. Massive warships, armed to the teeth with missiles, glide through the waves, while helicopters soar overhead, ready for action. The air is thick with anticipation as the U.S. military prepares for an unprecedented deployment to Venezuela, a nation grappling with turmoil fueled by cartels and corruption. The Pentagon is on high alert as President Trump makes a bold move, pressing the button that sends shockwaves across the region. But what led to this explosive decision? Venezuela's defiance against U.S. interests, coupled with its alliances with nations like Iran and Russia, has triggered a monumental operation. The stakes are high, and the implications are dire. As the U.S. Navy assembles its forces, 7 formidable warships and thousands of Marines, the message is clear, pressure is mounting, and the hunt for change in Venezuela has begun. In a dramatic twist, reports reveal that the U.S. has dispatched an amphibious-ready group, including the USS Ioima and USS San Antonio, designed for rapid deployment and force projection. The presence of advanced destroyers and submarines further signifies a commitment to establishing control over the Caribbean waters. With nearly 4,500 personnel on standby, this operation is far from a mere show of strength. It's a calculated move to disrupt cartel operations and assert dominance in a region fraught with instability. As the U.S. tightens its grip, panic spreads not just in Venezuela, but also among its allies, Russia, China, and Iran. Maduro's regime, already teetering on the brink, faces increasing pressure. The echoes of military exercises and defense maneuvers fill the air as Caracas prepares to defend its sovereignty. But will these measures be enough to withstand the looming threat? Venezuela's response is swift and fierce. Maduro rallies his forces, initiating complaints to the United Nations while showcasing military might. The rhetoric of national unity is amplified, and the call to arms resonates as the government mobilizes its militia. Coastal defenses are bolstered, and troops are deployed to the Colombian border, sending a clear message: Venezuela will not go down without a fight. Yet, amidst this turmoil, the narrative is complex. Washington's motives intertwine with accusations of cartel involvement and international crime. As the U.S. seeks to dismantle these networks under the guise of maritime security, questions arise. Is this truly a fight against drug trafficking, or a strategic maneuver to reshape the balance of power in the region? The past is a shadow that looms over the present. The strained history between the U.S. and Venezuela has seen relationships sour and diplomatic ties fray. In 2019, a new low was reached with legitimacy debates and sanctions that have only exacerbated the humanitarian crisis. The concept of a cartel has become a focal point in the ongoing conflict, with U.S. sources alleging deep-rooted corruption within Venezuela's security apparatus. But can the crisis be resolved swiftly, or is there a real risk of escalation? As discussions about budget and risk management swirl in Washington, the situation teeters on a knife's edge. What happens next could change the course of history in the Caribbean. Will Maduro's regime survive the onslaught, or will the U.S. finally succeed in ousting a government it views as a threat? The answers lie in the unfolding drama of this geopolitical chess match, where every move carries weight, and the stakes are nothing short of monumental. The tension between the United States and Venezuela has reached a boiling point, but could this crisis spiral into full-blown conflict? Or is there still room for calm to prevail? 3 possible paths lie ahead, each with its own dangerous stakes. First, imagine a scenario where the U.S. maintains a limited naval presence. Patrols continue at sea, focusing on law enforcement and tightening political pressure, but without pushing toward outright confrontation. This approach keeps the pressure on Venezuela's regime while avoiding open conflict. Second, there's a longer-term deployment, where U.S. forces stay in the region for months or even years. This presence fluctuates, with occasional surges and pullbacks. The U.S. would likely deepen cooperation with local partners, conducting joint patrols and training exercises with commercial shipping lines and neighboring nations, building a steady maritime security network. Yet, lurking beneath these scenarios is a far darker possibility. What if a maritime accident occurs? A miscalculation or a close encounter between warships could ignite a crisis neither side wants. The costs of escalation would be immense, with little political gain. This dangerous path is one both Washington and Caracas will strive to avoid. Meanwhile, regional countries watch nervously. They understand the stakes, not just for Venezuela, but for maritime security and energy flows across the Caribbean and northern South America. Some governments choose cautious neutrality, stressing respect for sovereignty, while others openly support efforts to dismantle criminal networks tied to the cartel economy. Ports and refineries in these countries are on high alert, focused on managing risks that could disrupt vital trade routes and energy supplies. Regional organizations like the Organization of American States may become venues for diplomatic efforts aimed at calming tensions. The U.S. could push for joint patrols and intelligence sharing, while Caracas seeks backing from sympathetic allies. This delicate dance of words and actions reveals a deep balancing act. Interests collide, alliances shift, but the shared goal remains: avoiding a catastrophic conflict that could ripple far beyond Venezuela's shores. At the heart of it all lies the energy crisis. Venezuela's oil production and export channels, already crippled by sanctions, hang by a thread. Any disruption now reverberates through global markets, raising the stakes for everyone involved. Will diplomacy find a way to ease the storm? Or will this ever-tightening naval grip spark a clash that changes the course of the region forever? The coming weeks will reveal which path this high-stakes drama takes. Out in the vast expanse of the Pacific, ominous shadows loom as towering naval vessels brimming with firepower prepare for an unprecedented confrontation. The air is thick with tension, radios eerily silent amidst the rustling of leaves and the distant roar of engines. This is no ordinary deployment. A massive fleet, teeming with advanced weaponry, is en route to Venezuela. U.S. President Donald Trump has issued the command, a show of force resulting from a tangled web of drug cartels, financial scandals, and a regime at odds with U.S. interests. But what exactly has triggered this military operation? Venezuela's turbulent alliance with Iran, Russia, and China has turned the country into a hotbed of international intrigue. With U.S. Marines poised for action, the world holds its breath. Despite Maduro's defiant stance, he may not be prepared for the storm on the horizon. The recent events in the Caribbean have suggested a clear message: the U.S. intends to decisively pressure Maduro, pushing him toward the brink. As U.S. naval forces arrive, 7 warships and around 4,500 troops set the stage for potential conflict. The fleet's centerpiece is a formidable amphibious-ready group, poised to project power onto Venezuelan shores. Warships equipped with cutting-edge Aegis air defense systems, guided missile destroyers, and nuclear submarines converge on the region, creating an atmosphere thick with anticipation. The initial deployment aims more than just a show of strength. It signifies a calculated strategy designed to secure vital sea lanes and exert dominance over illicit activities that undermine regional stability. What pressures drove this decision? Intelligence suggests that the U.S. administration views Maduro not simply as a leader but as a linchpin in a network intertwined with transnational crime. Could the presence of military might push Venezuela to yield, or will it further entrench Maduro's resolve? Responses from Caracas have been swift and fiery. A cry of sovereignty violation rings out across the nation, sparking a desire for solidarity among its people. But what's the real story behind these geopolitical maneuvers? In an intriguing twist, as diplomatic channels open and military posturing intensifies, a critical question hangs in the air: can the Venezuelan government hold firm in the face of overwhelming naval might, or is this the beginning of an irrevocable shift in power? The tension is palpable. The battlefield may not just be on land or sea, but in the hearts and minds of a divided nation. How will this confrontation reshape the future? The clock is ticking, and decisions made now could impact lives for generations to come. Will Maduro back down, or is a storm brewing that will forever alter the Caribbean's landscape? In a world where tension escalates beneath the waves, an intricate game of political chess unfolds. Venezuela finds itself at the center of a brewing storm as the United States ramps up its naval presence, positioning warships and Marines for a significant intervention. The air crackles with the potential for conflict as the American fleet approaches, signaling a clear message: the U.S. intends to assert control amid the chaos instigated by Venezuelan leaders and their alliances with Iran, Russia, and China. Imagine the silence of the waters, broken only by the distant hum of military aircraft, the weight of uncertainty heavy in the air. What if this deployment changes everything? Are we on the brink of a shocking confrontation? President Donald Trump, not shy about making bold moves, has ordered a show of force off the Venezuelan coast. The deck of the USS Oima, alongside a well-armed flotilla, is ready for action. Do you feel the tension? It's palpable. With approximately 4,500 personnel on board, the U.S. forces are preparing not for a mere display, but for real engagement, with an emphasis on securing maritime routes and combating organized crime. In Caracas, nerves are fraying. Nicolas Maduro recognizes the threat that unravels at sea. He seeks diplomatic backing from allies, while simultaneously rallying his own forces, unleashing a tide of nationalistic fervor among the militia. What happens when desperation meets military might? The stakes have never been higher. As the U.S. fortifies its position, the diplomatic air thickens. Regional partners are drawn into the fold. Navigating a labyrinth of alliances and misunderstandings. Communication, critical in the face of escalating tensions, remains a double-edged sword. Would this fragile network hold when every action might lead to misinterpretation and conflict? The U.S. regards these maneuvers as a means to combat the dual threats of transnational narco-trafficking and authoritarianism. They argue it's not simply about military presence, it's a matter of shaping stability in a volatile region. Yet, will this strategy yield the intended outcome, or will it incite a greater backlash from Caracas? Meanwhile, across the globe, Iran and Russia observe closely, their interests intertwined with Venezuela's plight. As the clock ticks down, everyone is bracing for an unpredictable winter. The final act may reveal more than any nation bargained for: a geopolitical shakeup, a potential realignment of power. Will Maduro back down, or will his resolve solidify amidst the mounting pressure? With every second passing, the implications of this deployment reach beyond borders, resonating through every hall of power. What unexpected alliances might form? What dire consequences await? The narrative is far from over, it's only just begun. As we watch, we must wonder, will the waters remain undisturbed or will they boil over?